So I am 22 years old. I don't have much knowledge about finances and stuff as I still live at home as I'm at university. I do however pay my parents about £300 a month rent, I pay my own phone plan, buy material stuff I want or need, pay out for other services like for music or whatever, and try to put as much as I can in savings whilst still keeping enough in my main account for day-to-day purchases. Currently, I am saving up for driving lessons and hope that if I pass decently, I can use some of my savings towards getting a car. I'm in my final year of uni, so I'll be done and able to work full-time when all this happens. I also decided to get a credit card so I can learn how to manage credit wisely and build some up. My credit score is good for someone of my age and circumstance, but obviously it's nothing great in comparison for other stuff. I should point out that at most I only plan on using this card with a total adding up to £100. I've stuck to that so far and only actually used it twice, with these purchases only adding up to £80, and I paid it off quickly. I do not plan on exceeding my limit anytime soon, as I've heard far too many horror stories of people just using their credit card too much cause it was handy and getting into debt. The only people I disclose this to was my dad, as my mom has the tendency to blab to my brother and sister-in-law, both 28. She happened to overhear us talking one day, and before I knew it, my brother and sister-in-law got wind and asked me if they could use it. They both admitted they had debt spurred on by excessive credit card use and thought that since I basically had nothing owed on mine, it was free money. I told them quite politely that I was really uncomfortable with that idea and that I would owe the money and I can't magic up that kind of money. Things went quiet until a few days later they both turned up at the house. They were nice to start with, but basically started demanding I let them use the card, and they tried to manipulate my mother into guilting me into doing it. I got really angry, and when my brother said I owe it to them because they used to babysit me up until a couple of years ago, I laughed in their faces and walked out. When I came home, I learned they tried to manipulate my dad and he kicked them both out. My mother then tried and he told her to go too, and she is currently staying with my brother and Sil. The only person on my side is my dad, who tells me they're all trying to take me for a ride and they're trying to manipulate me cause I'm young and they think I'm vulnerable. My brother, sister-in-law and mom on the other hand think it isn't a big deal letting someone else use my card. It's really messing with my head, and I just want everyone to stop being in an argument. I am 17, female, have a child Aaliyah. She is 6 years old, with my ex Jacob. He is 33 years old. He has a new girlfriend Regina. She is 27 years old. We just finalized a court order he requested after meeting her and currently have complete 50/50 custody. Regina has always been a little too involved and believes that since she trains parents to parent, she knows everything. Every time I ask Jacob for help with Aaliyah, he comes with suggestions from Regina instead of workshopping things between the two of us. She has been overstepping for years. Jacob and I are pretty much parallel parenting now and do everything separate, including birthdays and even parent-teacher conferences. He brings Regina with him to his meetings. Regina picks Aaliyah up from school every day because I don't get off work in time, and he did not want to pay for the after-school program, since he did not need it during his time. So of course he jumps at the opportunity to involve Regina. Well, I currently am trying to find a car because I lost mine, so she ends up bringing Aaliyah to my home instead of our meeting point. When she showed up with my daughter, she was being really quiet and looked sad. When I asked her what was wrong, she wouldn't tell me, so I confronted Regina at her car, who said she took away Aaliyah's tablet and TV time because she refused to do her homework and kept her home from cheerleading practice until it was done, so she missed it. Aaliyah loves cheer, and this was just cruel to me. It's something she and Regina connect over, and she got her all into this sport just to use it as a tool to control her? To rip away when she feels like it? She's 6 years old, and that was not her place. I have told her before she was not allowed to discipline, but she said, if she is going to have Regina in her care, she will have to discipline her, and since she does not yell or hit, she doesn't understand the problem. I told her she is not a mom and should not be acting like one. She said this is why Aaliyah has behavior issues in my care and left. I called Jacob and demanded that Aaliyah is put in the after-school program, and he refused, saying I was being ridiculous. But the parenting plan says no cruel punishments and that only the parents should lead most discipline. If he's doing what she says all the time, how is he leading? Now she is refusing to bring her to my home, and I have to Uber to the meeting point, which is costing me loads of money. Is this something I take them back to court about? Edit to add that she keeps her for a couple hours after school until I get off. That's how she had enough time to discipline her. Yes, there is a clause about meeting partners. She's been around a few years. That's not the issue. She's just too involved in parenting and has been for a while. I feel like there are certain boundaries that should be in place and certain things only parents should handle, like discipline and PT conferences, etc. She claims she kept trying to get her to do her work, but she just refused, saying she wanted to play on her tablet instead. She should have called me or her dad when this happened. Cheerleading was Regina's idea. She was a cheerleader and pushed for Aaliyah to join. Aaliyah fell in love with it, and now I feel that Regina is using that to control Aaliyah. Do what I say or no cheer. She's 6. If she kept refusing to do her homework, she should have called me to discuss a consequence. If she's alone with Aaliyah during either parent's time, she needs to discuss with both parents what the course of action should be for discipline. She is not a teacher. She is not a professional we are paying for, therefore guidelines need to be followed. This goes back 3 years when my mom and her girlfriend got engaged. My mom put in so much time and energy into organizing this wedding and was so excited. She sent out invites to all our family members for months in advance, and almost everyone confirmed they would be going. Barely a week before the wedding, she received several messages from aunts and uncles who said they won't be going because they had other commitments, despite confirming they'd be there months prior. One of my aunts, my grandma's sister, confronted my mom and said many weren't going because they still didn't agree with the fact that she was marrying a woman, including herself, because it went against her Christian views. Meanwhile, my hardcore Christian grandma was more than happy to walk my mom down the aisle. This upset my mom, but she tried not to let it ruin her wedding. I, however, was furious. Only my grandma, my mom's sister, a few cousins, and another aunt attended the wedding, while my stepmom's entire family came. What really pissed me off was that 2 weeks later, my cousin who lives in a totally different state celebrated her sweet 16, and everyone who made excuses about not going to my mom's wedding made the journey all the way over there and posted pictures all over Facebook. It really broke my mom's heart and just felt like salt in the wound. I swore then that when I got married, everyone who did not show up to my mom's wedding would not be invited to mine. Fast forward to now, me and my girlfriend of 2 years got married first week of March, and I kept my word. The only ones we invited to our wedding was the family that did go to my mom's, and one other aunt who did have a good reason for not being there at the time because she was recovering from surgery. I wanted to clarify that I am in fact a guy. We even invited my stepmom's family too. Obviously my other family members found out and expressed their hurt over not being invited. I called them all out and said if they had a problem with my mom for being who she is, then they had a problem with me, and I wouldn't let toxic people be a part of a special day for me and my wife. My wife stood behind my decision, as did my mom. That still doesn't seem to stop them from thinking it was a move and are turning it into a whole family drama because they think it was unfair to punish them for simply believing in something different. Wow, thank you so much for all the love and support, everyone. I've been married to my wife for 10 years and we're a mixed race couple. I'm Asian and she's Caucasian. I've gotten along with her family, MIL, BIL, SIL, but I always felt like her father-in-law and other sister-in-law, Sarah, never liked me. I'm a professionally trained chef with 15+ years of experience, and I work at a high-end Chinese restaurant, a spin-off of a popular one in Beijing, in a large US city. My crew and I have won several awards, and I've been explicitly told I'll be the next executive chef. Sarah is also a professionally trained chef and works at a popular upscale French restaurant in the city. She constantly brags about it and, no joke, compares herself out loud to Ramsay and Bourdain. Whenever I'm at my mother-in-law and FIL's house and helping out in the kitchen, Sarah is always criticizing everything I do. Whether it's chopping, braising, marinating, etc., she always butts in with comments like, I think you should actually do X like this. I've been patient for my wife and sidestepping those comments, saying things like, thanks, but I think I'll stick to the way I do it. Things came to a head 2 weeks ago when my wife, FIL, MIL, and I were in her parents' kitchen prepping dinner for my MIL's birthday. We were running a bit behind, so things were heated, which I kind of like because it reminded me of work. And that's when Sarah walked in. She took one look at what I was doing, scoffed, and said something like, "Oh wow, okay, so that's not the right way of doing things." It hit a nerve, and I pretty sternly told her to stop criticizing my cooking and that I'm also a chef like her. She laughed and said, "Making kung pao chicken at some Chinese restaurant doesn't count." The kitchen went silent, father-in-law snorted / chuckled, and my mother-in-law yelled, "Sarah, what is wrong with you?" I stopped what I was doing, swore at her and called her a racist piece of shit, apologized to my mother-in-law for not being able to stay, and left for home with my wife. Apparently this caused a massive fight after we left, with my MIL / BIL / other sister-in-law taking my side and my FIL / Sarah saying it was a joke but kind of true and that I was being too sensitive. The extended family somehow got wind of this, and now everyone is arguing and taking sides, with my wife even getting texts from some her cousins apologizing for Sarah's behavior. Despite being on my side, my wife is begging me to apologize so that the fighting will stop, but I refuse to because Sarah and her blatant racism. I'm a chef working at upscale Chinese resto. My sister-in-law is a chef at upscale French resto. She's critical of my cooking skills and has now called it making kung pao chicken at a Chinese restaurant. Family at war, wife begging me to apologize. My wife has also informed me that now Sarah may be in trouble at work and she's blaming me for it. Apparently one of her co-workers heard her rant about what happened and reported it to management. So it looks like one of my wife's cousins found this post and put it on Sarah's Facebook wall going, "This is you, right?" Her FB friends are starting to comment with things like, "If this is you, Sarah, then I'm disappointed." I think Sarah's still at work, shit might be hitting the fan soon, and now my wife is pissed too. My wife got a call from Asael. From wife's paraphrasing. Sarah started screaming / crying at her the moment my wife picked up and said that she just got demoted because of her Asian slur husband. Apparently some of her co-workers have her on FB and showed the post to management, which combined with her earlier rant, double whammied her back to being a line cook, and now she might get fired. My wife solidly on my side after taking the verbal abuse from Sarah.